All right, so this morning has been very, very rough. I've been trying to wake up for the last 3 hours and I haven't been very good at it. So normally I don't watch this YouTuber, Joshua Fluke, but I looked at the job title, I downloaded the transcript, and then I thought about what it felt like when I got out of school. And I definitely feel like the university was trying more to keep its relationships with the corporations that came to the job fairs more than anything else. Because if you're producing students at a university, at a big university, I mean, last year in May, they graduated 20,000 students. And a few days ago, they graduated 10,000 students. That's 30,000 students that now need jobs. But colleges encourage students to accept any job offer to maintain the relationship with corporate recruiters, even if the offer doesn't align with the student's career goals. Nearly every person that I met at university had to take some sort of sales job after college. It wasn't what they went to school for, it wasn't what they wanted to do, it was the job that was available. So after I got out of school and I found it almost impossible to find anything good, I went onto the career services website and I looked for jobs on their site called Shaking Hands, right? And all it had on it were more and more jobs for entry level sales positions, right? A lot of them had to do with the insurance companies that, ironically, were right across the street from the university. And they would try to get as many people to take those crummy jobs as humanly possible. And you thought to yourself, it's like, I spent 4 years going to school to work at State Farm Insurance as an insurance rep. That's the job that was available. Literally, they took you from ASU, walked you across the street, and told you, welcome to your new career as a sales rep, a job that requires no college education, no experience, and is only going to last 3 to 6 months. After you lose your job working there because you can't stand it, the pay's low, the benefits suck, everything about these sales jobs sucks. Meeting your quotas is nearly impossible. Like I said, last week when I was walking past the salespeople, I could hear the sales manager ripping a sales rep a new one because they weren't meeting their goals before Christmas. And you think to yourself, it's like, this is the only person that's left. Out of all of the people that they've hired into this area, this is the only person that's willing to put up with the garbage job, and you're still treating that person like human hot trash. That's what these companies do. They treat everyone as if they're disposable. They like letting you know from the moment you walk in the front door that you're not going to be there long. And since I've been dealing with Gen Z for years now, when Gen Z shows up with their broccoli haircuts, their white sneakers, and their socks pulled up to their knees, you just look at them and you think to yourself, you know what, this is another person who's not going to tolerate being treated as if they don't matter. Gen Z is one of the first generations that's ever looked at a system that wants to treat them like crap and would prefer to walk away from that system entirely rather than being continually humiliated in the workforce, not only with the pay that they offer, but actually verbally humiliated. That's one thing that I never understood about working in retail is the constant humiliation and management that tells you to quit. Every day that I worked at Walmart, I had at least one member of management who would tell me to quit and stop wasting their time. But you're not there because you want to be there. And that's the thing that I don't get about modern day jobs. No one wants to work anymore. No one's ever wanted to work that I have ever met unless you own the company or you're directly profiting from the company. Nobody wants to work. It's really what it comes down to in corporations who try to convince themselves or you that that's not true are living in a fantasy world and you don't want to be a part of it. So, with that said, let's put Joshua Fluke's article into the chat GPT and see what it generates. You know, being broke hits different when you're a person, when you're Gen Z and you're trying to make it. And then you get sold this dream. Go to college, work hard, and the opportunities will come. Spoiler alert, they don't. And if they do, they come wrapped in corporate lies. Let me tell you why. Here's how it goes: you go to a job fair, dressed in your best thrift store blazer, shaking hands, making promises, hoping someone will see your worth, and then finally you get that golden ticket, a job offer. Only it's not golden, it's not even copper. It's it's a color of brown that we all associate with the toilet. These job offers aren't so much job offers as a, I don't know, a deal with the devil. You need money? Hey, come with me. I'll make it worth your while. But as I've said before, ass, gas, or cash. This is the world that we live in. You're not going to get the golden ticket just because you want to. At the end of the hallway, Fleece Johnson is waiting for you and he's all warmed up. And he's not going to take the easy way. So you may think you're getting a job, but the reality is you're getting the job. So that's hilarious. This article wants you to believe that Gen Z is out here breaking promises, hopping jobs, and leaving employers high and dry. The audacity, right? But let's flip the script because corporate America started the game, not us. He's just Joshua Fluke is discussing the article that you guys probably saw on the screen about 5 minutes ago. So yeah, let's talk about reneging. Companies have been pulling job offers, canceling contracts, and tossing people out like last season's trends. But when a student decides to take a better opportunity, suddenly we're the problem. It makes sense. This is what happened with my last Gen Z. My boss showed up and he said, "Oh, Gen Z decided to take the job offer that he got before this because this job wasn't going anywhere. Like it was my fault. This job is entry level. It has no career path. It has no raises. It is the equivalent to taking a job as a Walmart greeter, right? It has no future, it has no past, it's not going anywhere. And the only way that you're getting a raise is if the minimum wage goes up. It's a crap job. And most of us when we get into these crap jobs, we understand what it is. Like my current job is a crap job, right? There is no position to move up. There's no demotion because there's nothing beneath it. And the corporations want you to believe that it's the best thing since sliced bread. In fact, I got into it with one of the people that work in the recruiting department last week because they don't understand why I don't try to make this job into a career. And I just laughed at them. This is the problem that I have with Gen Z. They show up and they think that every job is a career job, and you're just like, dude, just put the fries in the bag, little bro. That's what every job in America is, especially down there at entry level with 5 years of experience. They're not real jobs. You're not supposed to get comfortable in these jobs. You're just supposed to accept the fact that um, that they're just nothing but junk. So, Rotten Crotch, we're really disappointed. This betrayal is going on your record. Oh my gosh. I guess this is a reenactment he did while he was doing this. My record, what is this? Hogwarts? Is there a corporate blacklist I should know about? Newsflash, that doesn't exist. It's just a fear tactic. Oh, believe me, there are blacklists in this world. I got to experience this firsthand. When I worked at the university, one of the main reasons I couldn't get another job or a real job at the university is because I'd been blacklisted. In fact, I got fired from one job. I went to the other one. The guy, before I even got there, I could tell he had already spoken to my boss, who told him not to hire me because on paper I'm the best candidate that there is. But according to my boss, he told him, and that it wasn't even his decision to fire me; it was his boss's boss decision to fire me because I was working a minimum wage computer job that wanted you to have Linux administrative experience. And when I didn't have that Linux experience, they're like, "Well, you can't work here because you're not qualified to do the job." And I'm like, "Really?" This is a minimum wage job, and you want me to have admin experience as a student worker. This happens, people. I went and I interviewed at Amazon, and they wanted you to have Linux, Mac, Windows, and what's it called, the Chrome OS, Chrome Flex experience. And when I couldn't answer the questions to all of those operating systems, like, you know what, uh, we're gonna go with someone else, and I'm like, really? Again, this was a $16 an hour job, and that was the interview I had with them, and I was just like, you know, this, these corporations are ridiculous sometimes. You know who does keep a record? Colleges. They care about keeping their corporate partners alive than about student success. Maybe I read that wrong. Colleges, they care more about keeping their corporate partnerships alive than about student success. Why? Because if we stop taking these subpar offers, companies might stop recruiting on campus, and universities can't have that. This is what I've noticed about the trade schools as well, is once they start producing students that nobody wants, the corporations that function, that sell this education, well, they're not selling the education to make sure that you get an education. They're selling you education so that the business that's going to hire you has a continuous supply of new recruits. They don't care about you because remember, education is a commodity that is sold. It doesn't matter whether or not you're any good. When I worked for the engineering college, you had to have a 3.5 GPA in order to graduate from the engineering college. If you finished your degree and you didn't have a 3.5, guess what? You didn't get to graduate. That's when they sent you down here where I went to school. You get to go back to a lower degree because they don't want to lose you as a customer, right? Just because you can't graduate from a STEM degree doesn't mean the university doesn't still want your money. They'll just send you down to the lower tier majors, right? You're talking about English literature, journalism, psychology, communication. Those are the bottom levels of any university. But they try to upsell people on STEM degrees, knowing full well that most people are not intelligent enough to do those degrees. I've seen this at my current job. They'll go around and scratch up the bottom tier of people and then they'll try to get them to go through the program. And remember this, just because you don't graduate from trade school doesn't mean you don't have to pay back the $40,000 a year that they charged you in tuition, because it doesn't matter whether or not they you finish. They would prefer to get all of your 4 years of money, but if you don't make it that far, and I've seen students leave for every conceivable reason that you can imagine. I've worked there for years. I worked for the university for 20 years. Remember, I've worked at a university for 20 years. I've worked at the trades for over 5 years, not just here, but also at community college. I know education and I know it's not designed for everyone. When Gen Z comes out here with their so called education, it's not so much education as that they've been sold a pipe dream. It's a lottery ticket that most of Gen Z is turning in, including myself, not even just Gen Z. We're turning in the lottery ticket and you're being told it's worthless. That's what your education is in our present society. I have 4 college degrees that are all completely worthless. They're 4 scratchers tickets that took 4 years each to get, that were all loser degrees. I was never meant to be successful. I just paid into a system that sold me the idea over and over again that if I didn't go to school, that I was going to be a lifelong loser. And again, I'm not going to reuse this, but you find out the hard way that you're not going anywhere in life. Isn't that amazing? Sitting here broke the day before Christmas Eve, wondering, what happened? This is what happened. You You bought into the idea that these universities had your best interest in mind when the reality was that they were just going to gyp you and you were going to come out, you were going to go out and look for work. And remember, I graduated in 2017. I went out and I looked for work. The best job I could find is one that didn't require a college degree, a high school diploma, or any intelligence of any kind. I ended up working at Walmart. And it's not like I just worked there for a couple months. I worked there for until the store went out of business. And then I moved on to my next loser job, which was a call center. And then after that, I moved into unemployed for the next 2 years. So look at my track record after university: retail, call center, then unemployed. You tell me, is that a system that's really working to make successful lives where you're going on to a career that never takes off? And this is the fascinating part is I've been hiring Gen Z for the last 3 years. Every single person that finishes school and comes and applies for the dead end minimum wage job, you're just like, dude, you know what this is, right? Because everyone thinks that they're just going to that this is just a stepping stone to something better, but no, it's not an entry level position. It's the job you're going to have for the rest of your life. Entry level doesn't mean anything. Entry level means that they can pay you nothing. But what entry level means is, hey man, this is it. You may not like this job. Your manager may not like you. You may not like your coworkers, but this is it. This is as good as it gets. And with so many jobs out there that are just 3 to 6 month jobs, because after that, I don't know what it is about that time period, 3 to 6 months, but I think you just become disillusioned in the system and they just stop showing up. That's really what it comes down to. They just kind of you see it, you see it in their eyes. It's just like the life fades out and they realize, "Oh my god, I can't support myself on $16 an hour. I can't support myself on $20 an hour. I can't support myself on $14.70, which is the Arizona minimum wage." And people just give up. And it's not like they just give up on that job. They give up on the system. They give up on working because they go through Indeed or they go through whatever site and they see that all the jobs pay the same, an unlivable wage. And they're left thinking, well, if they're not going to pay me a living wage, why should I work? So, with the opportunity to move home, many of these students are going to move back home and not work. And that's what you see right now trending in our society is men that they're not relationships, they're not going anywhere in these jobs. They don't see the point. So here's the truth: saying no to a job offer isn't unethical, it's survival. It's putting yourself first in a system that never will. And if they're mad about it, good. That means you're doing it right. Gen Z isn't lazy, entitled, or ungrateful. They're awake. We're done playing by the rules that were never made to benefit us. So, to every student out there, take the job that's right for you. Say no to feeling guilty. Because at the end of the day, your loyalty belongs to your future, not to the company. And if you enjoy I'm not going to read that part, the outro. So, that's Jonathan Fluke's take on Gen Z Strikes Back. But I've been in the workforce a long time. And I've come to the conclusion that no matter what job you take, it's going to be a loser job. I did all the education I could. I've looked for work. I've applied to thousands of jobs. And being unemployed, to me, has just become a normal part of life. Because if no one's willing to offer you a decent job, a job that doesn't come with the humiliation and the indignity of the minimum wage or $20 an hour. I think $20 an hour is still the minimum wage in this country. If you're capable as a 30 something year old man of working right next to a person that's still in high school, making the same amount of money, earning, getting the same amount of hours, having no benefits, and then being told you're ungrateful when you don't kiss the ring, The system is innately broken. And when your employer wants to treat you like something that they stepped on their way to work, for instance, I'm going to leave you guys with this last example. So when I was working for the engineering college, I had this female coworker who was much younger than everyone else. It was an entry level job for her. I believe she was 18 years old, and she realized very quickly because she came from a financially well off family. She didn't have to work. She just came to work to play video games. And I kid you not, she would come to work, she'd hop on her computer, and she'd start playing some sort of Disney game on her work computer. And I was just like, oh my God, really? And the thing that she did really quickly was she knew she had this job, but she needed to find another job, realizing very quickly that no one really kept tabs on these jobs because they were bottom level jobs, right? She would clock in the morning, and then mid afternoon, she'd vanish to go to her second job. No big deal. I didn't care. I was going to school full time. This was just something I did for extra money on the side. And she, one day, shortly after, I think she was maybe there 2 or 3 weeks, she took a job working at like a Chuck E. Cheese, right? And the owner of that place was a real piece of work. And so one afternoon, she decided, you know what? I'm rich. I don't have to work. I'm not going back to Chuck E. Cheese. And the owner got on Facebook and started trashing her on the company Facebook page, telling her how ungrateful and what a loser she was and how she didn't deserve the job. And on top of that, even though she didn't work there anymore, the owner said that she wasn't allowed to quit, that she had to find someone to take all of her shifts for that week because they were so short staffed that she needed to find someone to fill those shifts that she wasn't going to be able to go to because she quit. And he was just ripping her a new one. Like he kept calling her and calling her on her cell phone, telling her that she needed to do this. And she just kept answering the phone, listening for a few seconds, and then hanging up. And he kept calling her. And I was just like, this is really happening. And of course, as an 18-year-old, she doesn't give a crap, right? Her family's rich. She doesn't need the money. She's not a single mom with 5 kids where she has to keep the job. And that's where corporations really know that they can make their money and treat people like crap. People like me, desperation workers who have to take that job, regardless of whether or not we want it. You get out of school, you realize that rent's due on the first of the month, you don't pay rent, you're moving on to the street. These landlords don't mess around when it comes to rent money. It is a vicious cycle of eviction, especially in Arizona, which has set record after record for evictions because there's nothing out there in order to be able to have a, a paycheck that's not going to be too small to pay the rent or too terrible that you can't stay in. Anyhow, I've rambled on for way too long. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I think I'm going to get dressed and head out to the park.